especially those who are unable to make it today. But this is going to be super fun, hopefully, and interactive. So if you have a camera, feel free to turn that on. If you have microphones, feel free to unmute and test out your microphone to make sure everything works. If you don't have either of those available to you, no worries. Feel free to write or share in the chat, and either Dylan or myself will read them aloud. And this is going to be a really interactive type of training instead of the other ones you've probably been experiencing where it's a lot of information thrown at you. This time we want to hear from you. So we're just going to give it just 2 or 3 more minutes to let any stragglers in, and then we will get started.
I'm starting to see some of those stragglers come in right now.
Exactly. I know how this works.
So while a few people are coming in, why don't I just go ahead and go over our agenda for the day. Our agenda for the hour is going to do a quick introduction and an icebreaker. I'm going to share briefly just some stuff. I'm assuming if y'all are here, this is probably not your first SEAL virtual training or interaction with the SEAL project, but I will be recapping just briefly some of the resources available through the SEAL project to get ready for the eclipses coming up. Then we have some just discussion questions that I would love for all of y'all to answer. This is just a really great opportunity for y'all to connect with each other, share some cool ideas, ask each other questions. Really, really fun time. Carl, I see you said you're saying you're having trouble getting your camera on. Don't worry about that at all. Feel free to unmute and join in just via voice if you'd like, or if you want to just share in the chat, that's absolutely okay too. So after those discussion questions, we got 5 of them. We'll just open up the floor and we can have an open discussion and a Q&A. Y'all can bring up any topics you would like to talk about having to do with Eclipse programming. You can also ask questions for Stephanie and myself. So in speaking of Stephanie and myself, why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Dylan Connolly. I'm an education specialist at the Space Science Institute and the National Center for Interactive Learning. I am based in Seattle, and my pronouns are he and they, and I'm very excited. I think some of you might recognize me from some of the other virtual trainings we've been doing, or if you're located in Washington, you might have seen me at a couple of the Washington in-person workshops we were doing. But I've been doing a bunch of really cool trainings with librarians, sharing with them all about the resources we have available for the Solar Eclipse Activities for Libraries project. And I'm really excited today to hear from y'all about what your plans are for the Eclipse programming. And I'm joined today by my wonderful co-host, Stephanie, and I'll let Stephanie introduce herself.
Everybody, so my name is Stephanie Vero Fields. I'm an education associate here at the Space Science Institute and the National Center for Interactive Learning. I am excited to see all of you guys. I've been one of the facilitators. I've been traveling around, so if you've done any in-person workshops, you may have seen my face before. I will be in Wisconsin next week and South Dakota after that, so if that is anywhere in your jurisdiction, hopefully I'll see you soon. Been doing a lot of the travel, but excited to hear from you guys and hear what's going on. So take it away, Dylan.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of an icebreaker. This is a little fun thing to think about, a little like pop quiz of like how you're feeling today. So what solar feature do you feel like today? Are you a sunspot? Are you relatively cool, calm, and collected, embracing change and transition today? Are you a solar prominence? Are you showy and bright, while also feeling grounded and connected to the sun? Are you a coronal mass ejection? Are you powerful and influential, ready to mess things up? Or are you the sun's corona? Are you gassy and sassy? And are you not about to let anybody's shadow dim your light? I know for me, I have been so pumped for this webinar and hearing y'all's exciting Eclipse program ideas. So I think I'm definitely number 3 today. Stephanie's also feeling number 3. Jen is feeling like a sunspot, here to learn. Excellent. Carla's feeling the same way. Have we got any solar prominences? Anyone feeling like showing off today? Excited to share about their, we got Christopher said that he's feeling like the sun's corona. I usually am feeling more corona. Gassy and sassy is my default mode there. Excellent. And Isabel's also feeling sunspot. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I like we got some cool comms and collected and some powerful and influential some people ready to mess things up. So I like that we've got a bit of a balance there.
Oh, I like Christopher. He said corona, but sunspot, but excited in a solar prominence kind of way. I like it. Technically, when a solar prominence is happening, there's a sunspot underneath. So that works out perfect.
There we go. They're related. All right. So let's talk briefly about the SEAL project itself. If you aren't familiar, the SEAL stands for Solar Eclipse Activities for Libraries, and we're doing a bunch of really cool stuff to help libraries all across the country prepare for both the annular solar eclipse coming up in October. That's going to be visible mostly in the western and southwestern part of the country, and then the total solar eclipse that's going to be the arc is going to be traveling from southern Texas all the way through the Midwest and up into the Northeast. So we, to prepare for those two eclipses, that kind of 1-2 punch eclipses over the next 6 months, we are giving free eclipse classes to libraries available through an application through SurveyMonkey. I believe we still have some classes available. If you haven't applied yet, highly recommend you get on that if you do. We're also doing in-person trainings in all 50 states and 4 territories. I think we are up to 30 odd states we've done already.
I think we're getting close to 40 now.
Oh, really? Okay, so we are hitting that. So if you are interested in attending one of those in your state, reach out to your state library. That is who we are organizing these through. We might have, if you're in one of those 10 states we haven't reached yet, where I think there's states like Illinois and I think we're Virginia that we might still be scheduling in the future. But at the very least, you can get in contact with your state library, get some of the resources that we shared through through your state library that we shared at those workshops. We're also doing recorded training videos and virtual workshops, just like the ones you're in now. And those are all available on our YouTube page. And I'm going to go ahead and throw a link here in the chat. Ooh, that is the wrong link. What we have been doing is we have a blog post that has all of the virtual resources that we've been sharing through everything. And this has all of our virtual resources, including the application for the glasses I was talking about, as well as links to all the recordings of our previous trainings if you'd like to check those out. We are also doing circulating kits in state libraries. And we have 2 different types of kits, one for younger learners and one for multi-generational learners. Those include things like solar telescopes, books, hands-on activities, and those are circulating through your state library if you're interested in those. We have a Getting Started with SEAL webinar that is linked in that link on that blog post I just shared in the chat. That recording has all the information about those circulating kits, and if you're interested in those, get in touch with your state library to get those in your library. We're also providing access to scientists, volunteers, Eclipse subject matter experts, and other librarians to the StarNet online community. We have a fantastic website that I'm affectionately calling Facebook, kind of functions like a social media site. And we have an Eclipse group on there where we have Eclipse expert volunteers, scientists, subject matter experts, amateur astronomers, who are interacting with the over, I think it's 3,000 libraries now that have signed up for the SEAL project, sharing ideas around programming, answering questions about solar science, as well as making themselves available for both in-person and virtual events. So if you're interested in doing some Eclipse, if you're interested in having some subject matter experts at your Eclipse programming, that's a great community to check out. So that is the SEAL project. And so I thought, and now we're going to start just opening up the discussion. I'm glad you like that, Isabel. It's one of my favorite puns I've come up with since I've been at NCIL. So let's start out with an easy discussion question, kind of ease into this conversation all about Eclipse programming. Because what we really want to do with this hour was provide an opportunity for y'all, the librarians who are actually doing this programming that we've been making all these resources for, to both share with us and each other what Eclipse programming looks like at your library. So let's start out really easy. So what is, if you're planning Eclipse programming, if you already have that planned, or even if you're just coming for ideas, what does your Eclipse programming look like? Or what does your ideal Eclipse programming look like? What would you do if you had your druthers? Are you planning on doing in-person events, maybe doing some take and make kits, having guest speakers? What is your programming look like at your library? What are your plans? Like I said, you can either share this in the chat or feel free to get on camera, unmute, go ahead and share away.
Yeah, Christopher, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I'm a new librarian, so I've never done an eclipse type thing. But we're in Northern California, so for the annular eclipse coming up, we get like a pretty good view of it, I guess. The current plan is to do some like in-person activities. So we did the request for the solar viewing glasses. I don't know if they've come in yet. We requested them about a month ago. So I was looking through the SEAL website, and the idea is that it's like an all ages type event. The whole community is invited. So the eclipse peaks at like 9:20 in the morning here. So the idea is that that's before our open hours. So we'll invite the community and we'll look at the eclipse and then just do a couple of the activities from your website. Do the make the pocket solar system is one of the ideas, and then do that solar system themed sorting game, like from like big to small, hot to cold, all those, that fun activity.
Yeah.
That was about it so far.
Yeah, sorting game is a very, very popular activity. A lot of people love doing that because it's very, very universal. So yes, you can do big to small, you can do cold to hot, you can do closest to furthest away. But keep in mind, especially if you have all age groups or families, feel free to adapt it. You can do it by shapes, by colors. Look at your audience and adapt it however works best for you. One of my favorite things to do to get into the mind of patrons who I work with would be to go, hey, sort these in whatever order you think works best. And sometimes people can come up with really creative things. So keep that in mind too when you do that activity.
Yeah, thank you.
You're using some of our activities we developed for the SEAL project, Christopher. So I'm actually putting this link in the chat. If y'all aren't familiar, Christopher was referencing some of the activities like Pocket Solar System. We have a whole collection on the StarNet STEM Activity Clearinghouse, which is a collection of over 500 vetted hands-on STEM activities for libraries. And we put together a collection of solar eclipse and solar science related activities. Both of which are really, really fantastic. We have English and Spanish translations available for those. And the link to that collection is I just threw there in the chat. We've also got some stuff coming in from the chat. Megan said they're having the planetarium director the week before and an eclipse program the day of, which is fantastic. Carla said that they've got eclipse classes for the schools. Erica is still gathering ideas for in-person activities and takeaways. Vanessa said they're working on planning an in-person event since the partial one is October, is on a Saturday, planning a day of solar eclipse party with activities and games. Need to figure out the activities still. Vanessa, this works if you want to check out that collection I linked in the chat. There might be some great ideas there. We were also that sorting games that was referenced. We actually demonstrate that in the Getting Started with SEAL webinar. I do a whole run through of the virtual version of that. So that link is in that Getting Started with SEAL blog post and available on our YouTube channel at StarNet Libraries. So if you want to see how that activity actually runs, you can check out that video and that recording. Megan said a table with temperature inflow, including the tablets with the Globe Observer app, which is really great. That's a fantastic citizen science app. We did a whole series of trainings in the spring on incorporating citizen science into your Eclipse programming. Also, recordings of which are also on our YouTube channel. Highly recommend checking those out if you're interested in incorporating things like citizen science and the Globe Observer app. Thermometer, a board showing how the temperature is changing, which is really cool. That's a really nice, cool way of demonstrating how the eclipses can change the environment around us while they're going on. The Big Sun, Small Moon activity from StarNet. This can be an easily self-guided activity if you photocopy the handout and instructions. These instructions are clear and can be handed out as is. Really great to hear that. They're also doing the sun clock also from StarNet, which we have printable DIY kind of solar clock that you can make out of cardstock and some string, as well as shadow tracing. Awesome to hear you guys using so many of our StarNet activities. Serena's said that they are at their library. They have programs for each age group. Really cool that you're doing stuff across ages. We're having basically eclipse theme days for each regular program. My group is the K-3, and we're focusing on the shadows. That's really cool. I hope if you're not aware, Serena, Moon Bear Shadow, which is a really cool activity, is actually in, and storybook is included in one of those state library circulation kits, and that's really fantastic. And Vanessa, thank us for the collection of activities. Really cool. So it sounds like y'all have really got some great ideas about like the shape of your activities. Really cool to hear that.
I have a follow-up question. So Christopher Eaton, because I realize there's two Christophers in the group, mentioned close to totality, but not in it. Is there anybody here who is in totality? I know of at least one person.
Or for the October eclipse, maximum annularity, I guess, would be.
Yeah, I know Marianne is. She's one of our Square of Awesome people. Martha, so for 2024 for totality, you are. I'm seeing a lot of nodded heads of people who are going to be in totality. Do you guys feel like you have to do a program slightly different because you're in totality versus if you were just a little bit off of it?
That was actually a question I was going to ask Jen Glebe in Ohio. And I haven't begun programming. We thought originally that we would be in, I'm talking about the April. We were going to have a program at the library. We're also sharing the eclipse classes with the school because we're a really small library. And I hope to have just a family program and have viewing here. We've gone to county meetings now where we're finding out that the schools are closing. They are anticipating maximum crowds and just worried about all the people that they anticipate coming from out of town based on some things that happened in an earlier eclipse in some small towns that were not prepared. So now I'm rethinking, I mean, where do we fit in something like that? And what is it going to look like here? Can we even get people to the library on that day? I don't know if the roads are going to be that full as what they're anticipating. We're a small library and we normally get like 30 to 35 people max for a program. So now I'm rethinking this. Should I do it earlier in the year and just try to educate, share those glasses? And we do outreach with the schools. So share the glasses that we have with the school and talk about it with the schools. And I mean, the elementary, we do outreach to the elementary and then do a small program here and not anticipate doing something the day of. I don't know, what kind of rethinking that.
Yeah, I have a couple suggestions. Is there anybody either in the chat or would like to unmute and maybe help Jen out first before I provide some of my suggestions? All right, I counted to 5 and nobody said. So couple of things to do. I'm so happy you've been doing the community meetings. That's one of the things I was going to recommend. If you are in totality, please connect with your municipality. They are probably already planning logistics and how do we crowd control manage, hundreds of thousands of people potentially coming to our communities, and especially those of you in rural communities. Something to keep in mind as you're kind of debating how you want to do this. A suggestion that I heard when I was doing the workshops down in Arkansas, and Arkansas is going to be in totality in 2024 down the center of the state. A few of them have actually connected with the schools themselves, which Jen, you sound like you already have a connection with, where they're hosting all the events that they can at the high school football field, because that's a facility that's already used to dealing with larger groups of people. They typically already have facilities on site, such as bathrooms, water fountains, possibly concessions, all of that. And they can handle larger groups of people. So when you're thinking about if you want to do a program, if your library is really, really small and you're really intimidated about having something come to your library, think about what are other places you can bring library programs to. So if you want to do something at the football field, maybe they put tents up and then you get a little booth and you can do some fun activities at the booth talking about the eclipse, using our activities. That is a suggestion.
I love it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's something I've heard a lot of people starting to do. Also, if you have local greens or parks, maybe set something up at the park too.
Okay. The superintendent is really open to those types of partnerships. That did not even come to my brain. So thank you very much, because we have so many good ideas from you. I mean, so many good things to share. So that's a great idea. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And especially for those of you who, Stephanie mentioned the Square of Awesome earlier. That's what we're calling the area of the overlap where both eclipses are going to be at their maximum in southern Texas, both the annular in October and the total in April. If you are in one of those areas that's maybe got coverage for both, even if they're not the maximum coverage, don't hesitate to maybe do the trial run for the October eclipse. Do something small scale, get your feet wet, figure out what you are capable of at your library. And then if you manage that, expand it for the total in April. You'll have 6 months between the two to adjust your ideas, figure out what worked, figure out what didn't. And also keep in mind that we're providing these resources for you to connect with your community, and you can use those however you want. You do not have to do, we're not putting any stipulations on any of our resources for use or the glasses that we're distributing. If you want to distribute those in advance and be closed on the Saturday of the eclipse so you can go and experience it, and want to just do some programming leading up to the eclipse, educational, to educate about the eclipse, how eclipses work, I think that is absolutely valid, especially if you're a small library with a small staff. Go ahead and do some events in advance, and then let the eclipse day, let larger venues who are built for handling massive crowds handle that eclipse day event. Don't feel like you need to suddenly become a 500-person venue on the day of the eclipse when you're used to hosting programming with 7 people in attendance. That is not on you to figure out in the next 6 weeks.
Absolutely. As Dylan said, talk with your municipalities. They're the ones that should be really thinking about the crowd control, the traffic, all of that. You should be thinking about, how do I just make either really fun programs, or how do I experience something that's really cool? I think I've heard some great program ideas in the chat. So Dylan, why don't we head up to the next question? What part of planned eclipse programming are you most excited about, and or what are you most excited about with the eclipse in general?
I know, I'll share. For me, I am really excited being up here in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to get a really good view of the annular next month. So I am really excited about taking my whole family out and seeing. We have built some projection eclipse viewers, and we have solar viewing glasses. I've gotten a solar filter for my DSLR camera, and I'm really excited to just spend a day just seeing this really unique event with my family. So like even I'm just doing something private with just my family, but I'm really, really excited to do that. So, but what are some of y'all, Stephanie, what are you doing for the annular coming up?
I will be down in Albuquerque, New Mexico, working with the Albuquerque Public Library and doing programs down there for the eclipse. And I'm excited because I've never been in totality for any eclipse. So this will be brand new for me. Anybody else like to share what they're most excited about, either with your programs or the eclipse in general?
I'm a geek and love even partials. Have always done it just with my family or whoever we could get around, but to know that there are large communities of people being excited and to be able to share that with others, that's why I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for the solar viewing glasses. I've never ever used those before, so that'll be super cool.
And what
Stephanie froze.
Oh, Stephanie froze a little bit. So while Stephanie's coming back, I'll go ahead and share. Carla and Serena actually shared some cool stuff in the chat. Carla said, I'm going to get good ideas for my programs. I'm excited to see it and enjoy it with my family. I think that's what's great about this eclipse is I think everybody feels a real big sense of wonder about eclipses, partial or otherwise. I think it's a really just cool opportunity to experience something really breathtaking with your family and your community, which is always really great. Serena said, I anticipate the children are going to think it's cool. I love when they learn something new and their eyes light up. I got to say, that is one of the best coolest things about doing STEM programming at a library is when you see something connect with your audience and you watch their them making connections and experiencing something for the first time, and maybe you watch those gears click in their head and their eyes light up with excitement. That is always really, really cool.
A fun activity. Ooh, I think I'm unfrozen now. Sorry. Surprisingly, SSI's internet, not always the best. One activity I'm excited about that I've heard libraries doing is I met a library staff member in North Dakota who, I guess in the 70s, like the northernmost part of our country, got an eclipse. And she was in grade school at that point. And what they had her do is they were like, hey, 2017 is the next one. Write a letter to yourself about what you experienced in the 70s. And, tell your future self what they expect to happen with the total eclipse. And she still had her letter and she showed it to me. And because the next solar eclipse that's going to cross the United States again isn't until 2045, that could be a really fun activity of have your kids write a letter to themselves 21 years in the future about, hey, this is what I experienced in 2024, and this is what you're going to experience again in 2045. So that's a program I'm super excited about because I thought that was brilliant to see.
A twist on that too is the Great American Eclipse in 2017 was 6 years ago now. So you might have some teens or preteens who were younger children when the last eclipse happened. You might come up with an activity where older or young adults and teenagers share their eclipse memories from the last total eclipse with your younger visitors as well. So you can also and not just look forward to the future, but also take advantage of the fact that we have that kind of 6-year gap between the last total eclipse and take advantage and share some memories there. I want to point out what Cinda put in the chat. They're doing some really cool programming, it sounds like. A week before the eclipse, they're starting with Countdown Day, counting down the week with take and makes, vision and safety knowledge, and prep for an astronaut costume contest, which will be awarded within the last half hour before the height of the eclipse. That is so cool sounding. Please take pictures and post those to the StarNet community. I would love to see the astronaut costume challenge. That sounds amazing.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to share?
We did a scale model at our library, so we put 2 bits in the library itself. We made a handy Earth and a handy moon, and they're about 8 feet apart. And the cool thing is, we figured, oh, okay, the sun will be really far away, and we were just going to go draw a circle with chalk or something. But then we realized it was the exact size and distance to our town's water tower in the middle of the town square. So that became kind of our de facto scale model. So if you've got a water tower, go ahead and make your scale model based on your water tower, because it's a great visual.
Oh, I love that scaling, because then it shows also the distance and how everything has to line up so perfectly for an eclipse to happen.
And a great way to connect with your community in a really visceral, tangible way, where a big water tower in the center of town is something that learners of all ages will be able to recognize and kind of get the scale of pretty easily, as it's something they've been exposed to every day. So it makes a really easy reference point for, here's the Earth and the moon and their distance, and the sun is this far away, all the way to the sun, that water tower in the center of town. Which is really, really cool. I love that as a visual learning tool. How cool. So this is actually a great question. I know that we've got some people who are planning for the total, some people are planning for the annular. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but we're thinking about timing, right? And capacity. So are you holding eclipse programming on the day of the eclipse? Why or why not? Do you have the capacity to do that? Are you limited in capacity, so you're planning on doing events otherwise? What's the timing of y'all's eclipse programming looking like?
So I'll chime in that our library's in transition. We're out of our old one and we're not in our new one yet. So I don't think we're going to make that October 14th date. you might not want to spread that around, but
No,
so
that
what
makes
I
total
did-
sense.
I've started doing, there was a health and wellness fair on Sunday. And I had gotten in touch with the folks who did it. I said, oh, you're having, there were people coming to give kids a vision exam. So I said, I have some eclipse classes if they want to give it out. And they were like, well, they're going to be really busy, with giving the kids the eye exam. So they gave me a table nearby. So I got to give out some eclipse glasses. I gave out about 250 pair. And I used some of the things from the guide in English and Spanish. And I actually used the little, can't hardly see it, but the little holder, which was really helpful because it had both dates. But what I found I was doing a lot of education. A lot of folks weren't even aware, so I got people to stop. I said, hey, did you know there's 2 eclipses coming? What? And then we started talking about that. And one cool thing was an older lady from India said that when she was a child, her mom would fill a pan of water and place it on the ground, and they would look at the eclipses and any of those things by staring into the pan of water on the ground. So that's one thing I love about outreach is all the stories that you get. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's a really cool and unique indirect viewing model.
And if you, for those of you who weren't aware, I think Isabel was holding up there's a tear out sheet we have a booklet, that's kind of our Solar Science 101 booklet, at Eclipse Science 101, that you have a printed copy that will come with your eclipse glasses when you order them. Isabel's holding it up right now. It's also, we have a printable PDF version as well, and that has a tear out sheet that you can print many copies of that you can photocopy, where you can write in the exact date and time. There's a link on there's a website link on that page for you to figure out exactly when the eclipse will reach maximum in your area. And so you can run off copies of those. And then there's also eclipse safety, if you're in viewing of both eclipses. We have a printable, foldable storage case for the glasses that you can also use to store those glasses between the October and the April eclipses. We also got some stuff coming in the chat. So Megan is in Illinois. Their program is from 11 to noon on the day of. They've got the planetarium director from the next big town over doing an evening program the week before. And then the next year they'll do on the day of as well. So planning on day of programming for both. Carla is going to do their first program in the 1st of October. So they're going to do activities from their website. Always good to hear. Jen said having the planetarium director is a great idea. I invited the planetarium director for a summer reading program, and as a youth librarian, he was great. Brought glasses to look at the sun. Really well received program. So it says Smithton will be open as of 9 a.m., but crafting will be active for another hour with all our announcements telling people to be here by 11 a.m. as the voting for the costume contest will be happening by library staff members. Then we award the certificates and prizes at 11:30 a.m. Everyone go outside to look safely through their solar viewing glasses as the eclipse reaches maximum. Really, really cool. Serena is doing a program every Tuesday. Their program is every Tuesday. So they're going to do theirs on October 10th and pass out the glasses on that day, as well as remind them that it's just in a few days, as well as making flyers for parents that they can scan and see view. That's really cool. So a lot of preparatory events. So I like that. It sounds like there's a mix of both day of events and preparatory educational events. And I think that's a really smart way to do it. It sounds like there's a lot of, especially for people who may not even be aware of the eclipses, having some of that programming leading up to the eclipse, not just on the day of, gives people the option of either coming to a day of event or finding a day of event in your area if that's not something you have the capacity for doing. So giving people plenty of runway time to find something to do, even if you are not doing an eclipse day programming the day of, I think is very, very smart and a really great way to help your community experience the eclipse.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to share, either unmuting and sharing or dropping in the chat?
Yeah, we recently added back our Saturday hours. So the annular eclipse coming up is on a Saturday, but it's super early for us. It peaks, like I said earlier, like at 9:19 for us. So we'll try to gather people around at 9 o'clock. The library officially opens at 12. So after the peak of the eclipse, then we'll do some of that programming. But we're doing it the day of just because I'll promote our Saturday hours.
Absolutely. And honestly, breakfast eclipse. I feel like there's so many things you could run with that.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat, breakfast eclipse.
Yeah. Eclipse brunch. Yes. Can we do an eclipse brunch? I love that.
You could take bites out of the pancakes to make them look like an eclipse.
Yeah, just slowly eat the pancake, which is slowly the moon eating the sun. I like your thinking.
I also want to point out, Isabel, thanks for sharing that link in the chat. Isabel shared a link to the seal booklet that I was speaking about earlier that has that terrible handout that you can share with your patrons. So thanks for sharing that link, Isabel. Let's go ahead and move on to our next discussion question. How are you involving the community in your Eclipse Day programming? Are you continuing some existing partnerships that maybe you had before, or has the Eclipse helped you make some new partnerships? I know we've been talking a little bit about partnering with schools and other community groups. What does community involvement look like as you're getting ready for the Eclipse?
We could.
Yeah, go ahead. This is a small
sorry.
group here. Y'all don't worry about raising hands. Just go ahead and unmute. If there's, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and triage if we need to. But just go ahead and unmute and share.
Sure. Sorry, librarians, long-form habits. You got to raise your hand. So we had started a kind of a partnership before, just to do outreach with our county department on aging, to visit some of the nursing homes and senior centers around. And so then we realized, those are folks who are not going to be able to come and visit an eclipse viewing event. So we put together a special set of outreach programs that we're going to be doing leading up to the April eclipse. So we'll be coming and visiting a bunch of those facilities, and the county department on aging was a big help, and they helped us set this up. And they're like, oh yeah, we already know these are the great facilities. Go. We're going to be giving folks kind of a drop-off kit of some eclipse viewing glasses and some tips to focus on those. And so we did a test run of that, and then we realized that we had to kind of revamp our program for seniors, because the most important question you get when you're doing eclipse outreach with seniors was, what was that other eclipse I remember from, back in the 50s? So we looked up all the past eclipses that folks might remember. So it's like this reverse time capsule that folks get to say, oh, and then they share these cool stories about how they saw different ones. So that was a surprise big hit. So I'll recommend that to anybody who wants to do some senior outreach. That was a big surprise.
Absolutely. I did a senior outreach around the eclipse last month, and same thing. It was people were reminiscing, oh, I lived in this part of the state, because I'm in Colorado, and there were a lot of people from the Western Slope who were like, oh, I remember an eclipse before, and trying to talk about those. So yeah, it's really cool to kind of ask them, well, which ones do you remember before this one? And a good tip for you that I've also heard is to kind of like bridge the gap between generations. Have your kids or tweens or teens make like pinhole viewers for the senior centers. And so then you kind of get that
great. Yeah.
You get that multi-generational connection. So whether it's pinhole viewers, whether it's cereal box viewers, which we have the link to help, because yeah, as you said, Christopher, they're not going to be able to travel. So what can you bring to them? Fantastic idea. Who else is involving?
I also want to point out, we also just posted a guest blog from David Barron, who's an author who wrote a fantastic book called American Eclipse about the 1878 eclipse that really kind of spawned America's scientific imagination in the 19th century. He has a really fantastic guest blog that we just posted that's all about making a eclipse history exhibit that includes links to where to find information about past total eclipses that are reviewable in your area for the last 150 odd years. So that's a really great way if you wanted to create this eclipse history exhibit, especially leading up to the total eclipse. Maybe having a teen STEM club or some of your younger learners, maybe go and once you find out what eclipses were viewable in totality in your area, maybe going to those senior centers, getting an oral history of what that eclipse looked like so you can create that exhibit at your library. All the details of how to find what past total eclipses are in your area and suggestions on how to put together those materials are in the blog post I just put in the chat. So I really love that idea of memory and creating cross-generational connections through the eclipse. Kind of like we were talking earlier with the writing letters to yourself in the future or thinking about past eclipses. Really, really fantastic idea.
Who else has a partnership that they want to share? That was a great one, Christopher.
So in Comfort, there's a group of people that are doing a fundraiser for the volunteer fire department. It's so dry here right now that they're trying to buy some equipment, and we're going to be part of that fundraiser. And it's actually going to be during the annular eclipse on October 14th. So I stepped away from the actual event that's in the park for a number of reasons, but we're definitely connected to it, and we're going to be providing them some of the glasses we got as part of the grant. So that's a little bit of a unique take. They were going to do it during both eclipses, but I think everybody's scared to death of the crowds for the total eclipse, so they're just doing it for the annular one. So.
No, I love that idea of partnerships is like my bread and butter. I love partnerships and helping libraries with that. And the thing to always keep in mind is, yes, how can partners help you? But also, how can you help your partners? How can you bridge the gap with them? How can you support the work that they're doing? So Marianne, I love that idea of, you know what, we'll connect with our local volunteer fire department to help them get a new truck. Let's do some fundraisers. Let's use the fact that the eclipse is going to be this big magnetic event and, get the community involved. I love that.
Yeah, I love so many great ideas for community groups. One of the activities we have in the SEAL collection is how to make a solar oven out of pizza boxes. So if you've got a local pizzeria that might want to donate some boxes to you in exchange for boxes donated by Joe's Pizzeria sign or something like that, that's a really great way to support some local business, get some materials for free from your for some hands-on activities. So looking over some of those hands-on activities and figuring out what kind of materials you might, you can make a pinhole viewer out of like shipping boxes if there's a local, shipping company or anything like that you might want to get involved. Reaching out to your community and figuring out ways where you can create some partnerships there. Really, really great idea for creating some new or continuing some partnerships too. I love that idea, both community groups and business.
Has anybody developed, I'm hearing a lot of like partnerships from previous, has anybody kind of developed a new partnership for the eclipse to support?
This was our first time working with the county fairgrounds, so it took us a while to get them to accept that people do come to see eclipses, but eventually they were on board with it. And so like our library is taking the bookmobile there, so it's like they've got the space, so we're gonna do it there where there's open fields and toilets. And so it was a good beginning of that partnership. So who knows, we might get to do events with them in the future.
I bet you will. When we surveyed a lot of the libraries we worked with after 2017, many had said that they had developed new partnerships and have continued to work on those partnerships. So definitely use this as an opportunity. If you've got a group you wanted to work with but couldn't quite figure out how to align, eclipses are pretty magnetic. You could definitely align there. Any other anything else you guys want to share before we move on to the final question of the day? Dylan, let's move on.
All right. So the last question we have is, and I think some of y'all have already shared with this, but we were just curious, are you using any of the SEAL or StarNet resources in your Eclipse programming? What have you found useful that we've shared with y'all? This is both to stroke our egos and to find out what y'all are using. So what are some, if you are planning on using any SEAL or StarNet resources, what are they and how are they incorporating into your Eclipse programming?
No, really, people, stoke our ego. Come on.
Oh, okay. So those STEM activities that are on StarNet are super amazing. And what I really appreciated about just like looking through them and browsing them is just all the information you have about the target audience and what the concepts they cover are. So it was really easy to find something that seemed, relevant to the eclipse. And that was also for all ages, which was what I was looking for. So that was super helpful.
Good. So I'm seeing shadow clock, shadow programming, chalk art, getting the sorting activity ready for a future program.
The Spanish language materials were great. Yeah. I printed up everything I had in English, I had in Spanish, and it just, it was just great that people passed by the table and like saw information in Spanish. Because like I said, a lot of folks didn't even know what was going on, So I appreciated that. So I don't have to translate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've tried really, really hard to take as much materials as we can and translate them into the Spanish language to be more inclusive.
And that is all of the activities in the SEAL collection on the STEM Activity Clearinghouse have both English and Spanish versions. So we've made sure that that is true for all of those activities on the clearinghouse in that collection. If you are using the STEM Activity Clearinghouse too, beyond the SEAL collection, Christopher Eaton mentioned that we have kind of tags available for each of the activities. So you can also filter the activities by age, whether or not they have a Spanish translation available, whether or not they have a how-to video if you want to see how that activity works in real time. So the STEM Activity Clearinghouse has a ton of searchable tools, as well as for most of the listings, we have things like WorldCat listings for related books for each of those activities if you wanted to build a book list. I know that many of the SEAL activities have at least 3 or 4 books available on there related to each activity. So there's some really good resources on the STEM Activity Clearinghouse, not just the activities themselves, but ways to expand that and come up with some programming ideas using those activities.
Who else would like to share?
Well, I can tell you that I've used a couple of them. I mean, I started this like when we first found out about the Square of Awesome libraries, and the chalk art one I've used repeatedly and will continue to use it. The kids love that, and it's so easy and it's so cheap, so we like easy and cheap. Another one that we haven't done yet, but I'm going to do it, is the carrying case for the glasses, that because we're going to have both of the eclipses, and it's really important to me for those glasses to not get scratched. Not that providing them a carrying case will guarantee that, but nevertheless, I want them to be able to carry those glasses over to the April eclipse as well. So I haven't done that yet, but we're going to start with our next Science Saturday, which is the Saturday the 7th, which is before the 14th. So oh yeah, all that stuff is great. Let me stroke your egos a little bit. All that stuff is really, really great, and I've used a lot of it and will continue to use. I love the pocket solar system. By the way, if you fold it right, Uranus is right at the rear end. They love that. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, I love all those things. So thank y'all very much for all your hard work.
It's great to hear that, Marion. Can I ask you, are you planning on storing those glasses at your library between events? Or are you sending the glasses home
No.
in your carrying case?
You know, there's no way we're going to ever be able to get them back, but I've asked for lots and lots of classes. So I'm only going to hand out half of them for what I'm calling the dress rehearsal, which is the annular eclipse. And then I'm going to hold back half of them for the total eclipse in April. So
I think that's real smart. And actually, that gives me an opportunity to talk about real quick to plug our next webinar, which is going to happen on the 27th. Stephanie, would you mind pulling up the link to that blog post for that for me real quick? So we're actually doing speaking of glasses and kind of those logistical things, we are having on the 27th a what to expect leading up to Eclipse Day webinar, where we're going to be doing some stuff like what to do if you run out of glasses. Since we are only distributing the glasses right now before the annular, we're not going to be doing a second batch before April, how to preserve those between the eclipses, what to do if you run out, other safe eclipse viewing techniques. So there's a ton that if you are a little bit more interested in diving deep onto some of those logistical issues about glasses distribution, et cetera. We're also going to be pulling in, we sent out a survey to librarians who hosted programming for the 2017 total eclipse. And that survey's gotten about 100 different librarians have responded to that, kind of talking about what they were prepared for, what they weren't as prepared for, to share some of those insights. So feel free to register for that one on the 27th, and we'll be going over some of those details as well about things like glasses distribution, et cetera. So wanted to plug that before we wrapped up. So is anybody else using any StarNet? Has anybody put any twists on any StarNet programming? Have they adapted something and maybe used it in a unique way that we didn't include in the original activity guide, or integrated it with another activity or something?
I just wanted to tell Marianne about, I just used regular paper and I put 4 on one I'm talking about the little case. I got 4 on one. I used regular copy paper and it was fine, so if you don't have cardstock and if you don't follow the instructions exactly, it still works.
That's a modification right there.
I've also thanks, Isabel.
Oops, sorry, no, I don't want to cut you off. Please,
I'm sorry. I'm doing this all on my phone and I'm trying to learn where everything is. I hadn't thought about using just plain paper, although I just ordered, a few reams of cardstock, but putting 4 of them on a page is a good suggestion. So thank you.
And I thought kids were going to want to do it themselves, but I found that if I already had the case made and stapled, they could just, slip it in there and keep going. So I had, pencils thinking they were all they did write their name on it, which was good. But a lot of folks were just like, oh, I'll just take these that are already in the case,
Stickers.
Awesome.
Those glasses cases also make a really good, I've heard some librarians who are using those as a distribution mechanism where they're only distributing those glasses if you come to an event to make your glasses case in a pocket solar system. So if you're worried about distribution, those limited numbers of glasses, distributing glasses through programs designed to get the glasses is a good way of handling some of that, rather than just having show up and take the glasses. Having those the distribution tied to an educational event leading up to that, where they hold on to the glasses themselves in that case, is a really great way to handle some of that distribution. We've seen some librarians who don't necessarily have as much programming event capabilities, who are using things like the glasses case, pocket solar system, or the solar clock as great take and make kits. where they have set up an eclipse kind of educational display in the library and created take and make kits with some of those easier take and make activities. For the pocket solar system, they're providing them with a strip of paper, and then we have printable planet cutouts of all the features for the pocket solar system with little cartoony, Mars, Earth, asteroid belts, etc. So they can go ahead and tape or glue those onto themselves to make that model at home. And the solar clock and those glasses cases also make really great take and make activities as well. If you're stretched in terms of staffing and programming. I also want to point out, Serena said that they're doing shadow tracing inside. We have a bunch of lights that can move around and trace different blocks and see if they can figure out how to make the shadows bigger or smaller. Really great way to educate about how light works and how eclipses are just the shadow of the moon being cast onto the earth in between the sun. So kind of getting in some of that education with there and doing a really fun kinesthetic activity. I think that's really, really great. That sounds so much fun, Serena. So we've got just a few minutes left. We got 5 minutes left in the hour. Just as we've got a few minutes left, I thought let's open up the discussion. If there's anything y'all want to share, if you have any questions for Stephanie or myself or anybody else who's shared today, let's go ahead and open up the floor. Anything y'all want to talk about, let's go crazy.
Do you guys feel like you're prepared?
Fine.
Oh, good.
No,
Well,
go ahead.
when this all started, I was kind of panicky, and other people were like, "Oh my God, no, not another eclipse." But I I do feel more confident and not as scared. And I'm looking forward to the next webinar where people share their experiences and what they learned.
Excellent. Good to hear that you're feeling a little more prepared this time. Vanessa's saying, I'm not prepared yet, but these activity suggestions are going to take me a long way in getting there. Thanks for all the great ideas. Glad we could help, Vanessa. This is why we wanted to do the Share-a-thon.
Christopher Eaton, you wanted to share.
Well, I was just I'm excited about it. I don't know how prepared I really am. I mean, I've got like a game plan, but well, we'll see how it goes.
In terms of nerves, also keep in mind, y'all, the eclipse is the main event, not y'all. So like the sun and the moon are going to be taking care of most of the entertainment factor. So that is something to keep in mind, that like, you don't really need to do much to make an eclipse really cool. Sometimes just sitting and safely viewing it is all you need. If that helps alleviate some of your nerves, please keep in mind that the main event is taken care of completely. All y'all got to do is some supplemental stuff that's specific to your community.
I saw you unmuted. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I'm new at the librarian position I've got, and this is all new for me. So I'm really excited, and I've learned a lot from coming to these webinars. Thank y'all.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of what we are here for. We're trying to make the amazing work you guys do just a little easier and a little more supported.
It's so great to hear that you're finding these useful. We're really trying to, we know that libraries across the country, we have librarians who have master's degrees and education and library science and are, working in big city, like multi-library systems. And we also have rural librarians who have an English degree and stumbled into the job at their local community library and are learning all of this stuff in real time. So we're trying to provide as many resources as we can to support y'all. So it's great to hear that you're finding these useful.
All right, we just have 1 minute left. Any parting thoughts, questions? that you guys want to share?
Advice you want to give to librarians who might be watching this later during the recording?
So much thanks. That's what I'm seeing in the chat. Everyone's saying just thank you. Oh, Nicole said,
Stephanie, you go ahead.
okay. I live in a rural town in Texas, and we've been wondering what in the world I will do. The resources and this webinar have been especially helpful. I love hearing everyone's ideas. Thanks for putting this together. You are welcome. We are here to support you guys. Feel free to reach out at any time. If you have a question, concern, you want to run a programming idea by us, we are available to you at any time.
Yep, I put my email in the chat. It's dconnelly@spacescience.org. If you have any questions about programming, where to find resources, just want to connect with other librarians, just where to find some ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I would be glad to point you to all of our resources, as well as some of the other resources that I'm familiar with. So Vanessa said, really appreciate you both reminding us that the eclipse is the main event. Nice reminder to take the pressure off. I keep trying to say that, you know, the rest is taken care of. All you got to do is put up some crafts. The main event is the gravity and orbits are taking care of the rest of that. So, well, I want to thank y'all for joining us today. This has been so fantastic hearing some of y'all's ideas. I think I'm always impressed by the ingenuity and creativity of librarians to do so much with just a tiny little bit. Y'all are so impressive and inspire me every day to keep doing this work. So thank you so much for coming and sharing. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Like I said, my email's in the chat, and hopefully I will see y'all at our next webinar.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.